The demolition of my parents' house cost a huge sum of 6.4 million yuan. My younger brother only received 6.3999 million yuan, while my sister and I only received 50 yuan each. My sister was very outspoken and immediately said she didn't want the 50. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later. That's all we know. 1. Zhao Panna, Mom called you home today because of the demolition money. Not long ago, my parents' house was demolished and they lost 6.4 million yuan. My mother glanced at my sister and me. After all, they are all my children and I can't bear to favor one against another. The palms and backs of my hands are all flesh. My younger sister was impatient and immediately asked, Mom, let's get to the point. How do you plan to divide the demolition money? I also looked at my mother. My mother clapped my and my sister's hands with relief, smiled happily, and said, of the 6.4 million, I decided to give Zhu 6.3999 million yuan. The money has already been deposited into his card. The remaining 100 yuan will be 50 yuan each for you two sisters. My sister and I's expressions changed immediately. Who are you insulting? 6.4 million. She directly transferred 6.3999 million to her brother's card without saying a word. We two sisters only deserve to share the remaining 100 yuan, and we should divide it equally between the two sisters. It turns out that maternal love can also be divided in this way. Of the 6.4 million yuan in maternal love, my sister and I only deserve 50 yuan each. My sister and I both had dark faces. Haha, 50 yuan is just to pay a beggar. My mother sighed sadly, with a very helpless tone. Don't blame Mom for being cruel. Mom still cares about you, but you also know that Zhu's wife is not easy to mess with. If she knows that you two have 50 yuan each, she might cause trouble. I said what a coincidence, my brother and sister-in-law are not at home today. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later. That's all we know. My sister and I looked at each other with deep disappointment and despair in our eyes, and we curled our lips in self-mockery. My sister was outspoken and made a decisive decision to give up the 50 yuan as if she were giving it away to a beggar. Mom, since you are in such a difficult situation, I don't want the 50 yuan anymore. You can keep it and distribute it however you want, and you don't have to tell me. My mother was startled and immediately turned her expectant eyes to me. I looked at the white hair on my mother's head that couldn't be covered and smiled. Mom, I don't want these 50 yuan anymore. I don't want you either. My mother was silent for a moment. Her eyes were red. She took out 2 real estate certificates from her pocket, handed them to my sister and me. Her voice was choked. Son, my mother is very pleased that you two can be considerate of the family. The money is divided like this, not to favor boys over girls. You also know that your brother has just started a family and plans to start a business. He is under too much pressure. You two have a stable life and are not short of money. These 2 small apartments are in good locations. I think you will have your own nest when you are tired in the future. Hearing this, my sister and I burst into tears. I opened the real estate certificate and saw my brother's name written on it. The tears in my and my sister's eyes stopped abruptly, and our expressions became stiff. The demolition fund was 6.4 million yuan, and 4 apartments were allocated per capita. The 6.3999 million yuan belongs to the younger brother, and the 4 houses also belong to the younger brother. They all belong to my younger brother. Everything belongs to my brother. My mother wiped the corners of her eyes and began to talk about her difficulties. Zhao Panner, Mom tried her best, don't blame Mom. It's not easy for Mom either. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later, that's all we know. I smiled and nodded in agreement with her. Yeah, we know. 2. On the way away from home, my sister and I were speechless. My sister and I are twins. After we went to college, our parents changed our room into a study room dedicated to my younger brother. When I go home during the winter and summer vacations, I can only sleep on the sofa. Later, we stopped going home. Maybe that house was not our home from the beginning, but we are just unwilling to face this fact. Now, I finally have to face this fact. The wind was particularly strong at night, and my thoughts were immediately drawn to that night. Dad had a heart attack. Before he died, he held our 2 sisters' hands and said his last words. Zhao Panner, the 2 of you are the ones that Dad is worried about the most. Just when my sister and I thought he was a dying man, his words were kind. Zhu is the only child of our old Li family. If I can't see him get married, I won't be able to rest in peace until my death. Dad's old, wrinkled hands trembled and held my sister and me. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later. That's all we know. After listening to it, my sister and I shed tears. The younger brother Zhu kept wiping his tears. Dad, don't worry. I will definitely take your eldest grandson to burn incense for you during the Qingming festival next year. After hearing this, Dad could finally close his eyes with peace of mind. In the end, the 2 sisters paid for the surgery and hospitalization fees. The 500,000 yuan gift my brother received when he got married was all the savings we 2 sisters had accumulated over several years of working. Mom still felt dissatisfied and forced us to take out a loan and asked us to pay out all the money we spent on the 3 gold coins and meals. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later, that's all we know. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later. That's all we know. Facing the criticism and moral kidnapping from relatives around us, my sister and I could only respond with tears. Sister, I've had enough. My sister tried her best to open her eyes wide and let the evening breeze blow away the tears. She laughed at herself. I can't afford this mother. I tightened her collar for her, took her hand, and walked forward. Just like when she was a child, she was kicked out of the house because she was greedy and took 2 more mouthfuls of rice. I was the only one holding her. I led her forward step by step. Thousands of houses are brightly lit, and our shadows are stretched out under the dim street lights. Yeah, no more. 3. The company has a quota for overseas dispatch. Sister Lynn called us both into the office. There is only one quota. I am very fond of you too, and I hope one of you can seize this opportunity. My sister and I looked at each other and saw desire in each other's eyes. When Sister Lynn saw this, she didn't rush her. After all, we are sisters. Please discuss this carefully and give me an answer before you get off work today. After we graduated and entered society, our first job was with Sister Lynn, and we knew that Sister Lynn was doing it for our own good. After we walked out the door, my sister held my hand and looked at me with pleading eyes. Sister, you only have one chance. I don't want to wait any longer. I knew what she was thinking and nodded calmly. I went to the tea room to get a glass of water and took a sip of warm water to moisten my throat. Before getting off work, my sister and I went to see Sister Lynn together. Sister Lynn, the spot is for my sister. Sister Lynn raised her eyebrows. Have you really decided? This opportunity cannot be missed. It will never come again. I nodded and glanced at the sister next to me. I'll go with her. Sister Lynn nodded understandingly. If you go by yourself, I can apply to the headquarters, but you have to pay for it all at your own expense. Returned home in the evening. My sister cooked a table full of delicious dishes. Sister, we don't have much savings. Although it will be difficult to go abroad together, I believe we can survive. I smiled and clinked glasses with her. Don't we still have 6.4 million? With this money, all our problems will be solved. My sister's eyes suddenly lit up. Sister, you are so smart. How can you give them so much money in vain? 4. On Sunday, my mother called us and asked us to go home for dinner and bring some baby supplies. Not long after my father passed away, my sister-in-law became pregnant. My brother used this to force my mother to let us pay the bride price for him. After the child was born, my mother told us that being an aunt would always suffer, so we should not take it to heart. Well, let us spend money on our children now, and when we grow up, we, as aunts, can buy cars, houses, gifts, and wives for our nephews. As an aunt, not only do you have to find a wife for your brother, but you also have to find a wife for your nephew. When your grandnephew is born, you have to figure out his wife's future. Well, that's how blood packs are squeezed. This thing can be passed down from generation to generation. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later. That's all we know. Why did you come here empty-handed? Didn't we agree that each of you two sisters should buy a few cans of milk powder, a few packs of diapers, and so on? A can of imported milk powder only costs 1,000 yuan, and a diaper only costs 100 yuan. How expensive can it be? How can you, an aunt, be so stingy? My mother twisted my sister's arm angrily and slapped my arm hard. You too, damn girls, let me go at the critical moment. She stretched out her hand and pushed us out. I'll give you 10 minutes. Hurry up and buy something at the nearby supermarket. I'm a guest with nothing. You can't do it. I've taught you so much for nothing. It's embarrassing for me to tell you. Hurry up, let's go. Don't make me scold you. It's really a sin to give birth to you two debt collectors. My sister and I looked at each other and suppressed the overwhelming anger in our eyes. Just when he was about to fight back, his sister-in-law Zhang Hohat's bitter and mean voice came from inside. Hey, who do I think is here? It turns out she is my Guangzong's aunt. I don't know. I thought I was an enemy. I came here empty-handed. There is really no etiquette at all. Mom, I'm not criticizing you. In fact, your education failed too much. How could you have raised such a daughter who doesn't understand the rules? There is no reason for someone's eldest sister to come to my brother's house empty-handed. If this spreads out, we, oldly, will laugh to death for our lack of rules. While patting Guangzong in her arms, she continued to taunt him in a weird way. Yo, yo, yo. We Guangzong are all angry after hearing this. Look at these two aunts of yours. They are really unethical. They came to see you empty-handed. You must be angry too, baby. Oh, baby, we won't let the bad aunt in next time. She walked up to us with Guangzong in her arms and glanced at my mother sideways. Mom, it's okay for you to have no rules and regulations. You blocked the door to prevent others from entering. This was seen by outsiders. Not to mention that I am a powerful sister-in-law and deliberately made things difficult for my two eldest aunts. Are you sincerely trying to embarrass me? My mother quickly licked her face and begged for glory. Osmanthus, why are you talking like this? Zhaoer and Panner are ignorant. As a mother, I naturally have to say something nice to them. Come on, hold Guangzong in my arms. Don't be tired. Go, and lie down on the sofa for a while. I'll ask Zhaoer to wash the fruit for you later, cut it up, put a little fork in it, and bring it to you. Zhang Hohat snorted a few times, put the child on my mother's hand, and looked at my sister and me with eyes that almost went up to heaven. Okay, don't waste time. Go buy milk powder and diapers quickly. You two are aunts. Do you really want to starve your own nephew to death? 5. My sister and I looked at each other. My sister immediately scolded me. Mom, you said you were serious. Why would you want to raise a grandson for someone else? I have never seen a mother who doesn't even support her own son and expects outsiders like us to support her. Mom, do you think this grandson is really your biological grandson? He won't make a mistake and take advantage of us, right? My mother's face darkened immediately after she seemed to think of something. Zhang Hohat was so angry that her face turned livid. She stretched out her hand to point at her sister's nose and scold her. I quickly knocked her hand off, smiled lightly, and looked her up and down with a particularly contemptuous look. Immediately afterwards, I took the opportunity to make a fire. Mom, I think my sister's right. Think about it. When was my brother Ingzu's childhood? You didn't do it yourself personally. You were afraid that others might bump into him. Why does she have to let someone else take care of her children when she comes to my sister-in-law's place? Mom, you have to be careful. Don't raise someone else's grandson as your own. Have you done a paternity test? My mother's expression changes like a palette, colorful. She looked down at the child in her arms. Her expression suddenly changed. She decisively put the child into Zhang Hohat's arms, pursed her lips, and went to sit on the sofa. Zhang Hohat was so angry as she held the child that she would force the child into my and my sister's hands no matter what. My sister took the opportunity to yell, Mom, we really got it right. Let me tell you, this child is not from our Laoli family. Look at Hohat. She doesn't even want her child anymore. How can a mother despise her own child like this? She clearly has something in her heart and a guilty conscience. Zhang Hohat cursed loudly. What are you talking about? If you talk nonsense again, I will tear your bitch off. Can I not know whether my son was born to me? She pointed at my sister and me fiercely. You two little bitches are so picky when you become an aunt. You don't want to spend money for us, Guangzong. Just say so. You dare to slander my son's life experience. I think you two little bitches are tired of living. I asked you to buy a few buckets of milk powder and a few packs of diapers, but you resisted. Now you still dare to spread rumors and cause trouble. It's really against the grain. She hugged the child and walked angrily to the sofa. Damn old woman, if you don't give me an explanation today, I will carry the child back to my parents' house. You can explain it to your precious son yourself. My sister and I fanned the flames as we walked. Mom, just let her go back to her parents' house. She threatens you with this trick every time, and you're not tired of it. That's right. I've said it dozens of times, but I haven't seen her ever dare to go back to her parents' home. If she really dares to go back to her parents' home with a child in her arms, will her sister-in-law allow her to come in with a bottle of oil and take advantage? My mother's face didn't look good either, and she was just about to say something. Zhang Hohat held the child and walked towards the window. Okay, your whole family is bullying me, an outsider. I don't live anymore. I will jump off the building with my child in my arms now. When the child and I become ghosts, we will come to settle accounts with you. My mother's expression changed drastically, and she was about to get up and walk forward in an instant. Her face was pale, nervous, and scared. Osmanthus, don't do stupid things. If you have anything to do, just tell me slowly. Don't do stupid things. You're holding a child in your arms. He is your biological son. You can't do stupid things with him, Osmanthus Fragrance. Hey Mom, don't worry about it. I quickly grabbed my mother's elbow. My younger sister also stepped forward and grabbed my mother's other arm. Mom, maybe she just has a guilty conscience and is deliberately trying to scare you. Zhang Hohat was walking slowly, but when she heard my mother calling her, she stopped immediately. Now, fooled by my sister and I singing along, she immediately strode forward. My mother was scared to death. 6. Osmanthus, don't do anything stupid. The child is innocent, Hohat. Put the child down quickly and give the child to me. This is the only Meow Meow in our Laoli family. Don't do anything stupid, Osmanthus. Zhang Hohat turned around with the child in her arms. She was as proud as if she was holding a talisman. Damn old woman, just listen to me. It doesn't matter if you don't want me and my child to jump off the building. Now immediately let the two little bitches you gave birth to kneel down and apologize to me. You have to kowtow 3 times until I'm satisfied. If you dare not agree, I will jump down with the child in my arms right now and make your oldly family extinct. As he said that, he made a gesture of climbing up the railing. I could see clearly that her body had not touched the railing and she was standing firmly. She just turned her back to us, but she was actually very safe. But my mother felt as if she had been pinched 7 inches and she no longer dared to move a step. Osmanthus, no. Don't be impulsive. I promise you whatever you say. She turned her head fiercely and bared her teeth at my sister and me. It's true that you two have finally returned home. Why did you deliberately make Hohat angry? You two have to make your mother angry to death. Why don't you kneel down and apologize to Osmanthus? If Osmanthus doesn't forgive you too, you won't have to go home anymore. You are not welcome here. She pinched my arm so hard that it made me turn pale. Sister, what's wrong with you? My sister glanced at me and immediately panicked. Sister, why are you still bleeding? As she said that, she strode towards the door. Kill people, come here, call 120. I was so painful that I squatted on the ground and covered my arms, unable to say a word. I have hemophilia C, a genetic disorder inherited from my mother's side of the family. When I was a kid, my parents almost planned to throw me into the trash can because of this. It was my neighbor's words. You look like a pretty girl. You can just exchange it for some betrothal gifts when you grow up. That saved my life. My mother turned pale with fright when she saw my elbow bleeding. She heard my sister yelling outside, which even alerted the neighbors. Her lips were trembling, and even Zhang Hohat couldn't care less. She stretched out her hand to check the injury, but she was afraid of implicating her, so she hid far away and pretended to be concerned. Zhao, how are you? Mom, call 120. I can't survive. I'm going to die. I looked up at her tiredly, and her bloodless look scared my mother's legs. You don't die here. If you die here, wouldn't your brother's house become a haunted house? Hey, Li Zhaoer, get up. When Zhang Hohat heard that she might die in the house, her expression immediately changed, and she walked inside with her child in her arms. You have to go outside and don't harm my house. Why are you standing there? Why don't you drive this dead man out quickly? You really want to turn my house into a haunted house. Guangzong is only a few months old. Do you want Guangzong to be so scared that he can't sleep at night? My mother thought it made sense as soon as she heard it. I'll go find a mop and sweep her out. At the same time, my sister's shouting also attracted neighbors to watch. Is it the little girl from Lao Li's family who is making the noise? What are they yelling about killing? Oh, yes, I heard it too. Something happened to her eldest daughter, right? I know that this eldest daughter is sick. She can't see any blood, and even a little bit of skin could kill her. Could it be that her house had just been demolished, and she didn't want to share the money with the 2 girls, so she deliberately killed the eldest daughter? 7. Uncle Gang, Aunt Lee, please call 120. My mother and the others really want to kill my sister. My sister was crying with runny nose and tears. She knelt on the ground and begged everyone to help her. My mother called us sisters home because of the demolition money. My sister-in-law didn't want to give us the money, so they took a knife and forced my sister to sign, saying that if she didn't want to give up the demolition money, she would kill us two sisters. My sister, in order to protect me, I fell to the ground and listened to my sister's vivid cries, which made me smile. Just now my mother told Jong Ho-hat not to do stupid things, but when Jong Ho-hat turned her back to us, she quietly picked up the fruit knife on the coffee table. Taking advantage of my mother's annoyance, I picked up the knife through her sleeve before her and scratched my elbow hard. When she twisted my arm, I used my other hand to put the knife into her pocket through her sleeve. There are no fingerprints on the knife. Jong Ho-hat held the child with a look of disgust on her face and even took a sip of disgust. An unlucky thing. My mother took a mop and wanted to sweep me out. But when he saw the blood flowing all over the ground, he was completely confused. I looked at her and Jong Ho-hat with tears in my eyes. Mom, why did you team up with your sister-in-law to kill me? Why did you force my sister and I to die for the demolition money? Mom, you are so cruel. Osmanthus, Panner and I are not kind to you. Your betrothal gifts, 3 gold coins, and banquets were all paid for by Panner and me. Why do you want to kill me? Mom, you and Ho-hat are so cruel. In order to letting you get all the demolition money, you killed people to silence them. You are so cruel. My mother and Jong Ho-hat were stunned for a while. Little bitch, what are you talking about? Who is going to kill you? I haven't even touched you. Li Zhaoer, why are you so cruel and so slanderous? You are my daughter. No matter how cruel I am, can I still kill you? Jong Ho-hat glanced at her, pointed at my mother, and screamed. You killed her. You had a knife in your pocket. No, it's impossible. My mother followed her gaze downwards and saw the bloodstained knife edge. She was almost frightened out of her wits. She hurriedly took off her coat and threw it on Jong Ho-hat. You bought this dress for me. You must have put it away secretly. I asked you why you suddenly thought of buying me some clothes. It turns out that you are hiding such a disgusting plot. You want to kill my Zhaoer. Damn old woman. What are you talking about? The two of them had a heated argument. Jong Ho-hat put the child on the sofa, rolled up her sleeves, and went up to fight my mother. A circle of neighbors gathered around the door to watch the excitement. Several people even rushed into the entrance and recorded the scene just now. I looked at the child who was lying on the sofa, crying heartbrokenly. Since it's a show, we have to do the whole thing. I carried everyone on my back and weakly shouted, "Child." It looked like he was struggling to stand up, trying to catch the child who was sliding down from the sofa, but in fact, his body accidentally hit the coffee table. With a bang, I fainted, and the child's crying stopped abruptly. Ache. When I woke up, it was already a week later. The first thing I said when I opened my eyes was, my child is all right, right? I suddenly realized that my throat, which had not had water in it for many days, was extremely dry and hoarse. Every time I swallowed saliva, it was like a baptism of swords and swords. Sister, are you okay? My sister stood up in a hurry and wanted to pour me a glass of water. I still stubbornly asked, Child. My sister wiped the tears from her face. Her eyes were as swollen as walnuts. She did not answer my question, but changed the subject and said, Sister, you've been in a coma for a week. Drink some water first. I weakly turned my head to avoid it. Child, how? A cold voice interrupted me. The child is cushioned by her body and does not fall to the ground immediately. I breathed a sigh of relief and smiled weakly. So, is everything okay? The two hat uncles paused. The person who just spoke whispered. The fruit on the coffee table rolled all over the floor, and the child's head was stuck on the durian shell. After resuscitation failed, he unfortunately passed away a week ago. As soon as I finished speaking, I was so shocked that I fainted again. The younger sister shouted heartbreakingly from the side, Sister, call the doctor quickly. Why do you want to stimulate my sister? My sister has just woken up. Why do you want to tell her the truth? Are you trying to kill my sister? Ma'am, please calm down, ma'am. There is no resurrection, ma'am. My sister felt dizzy as soon as she rolled her eyes. After my mood stabilized, and with the doctor's permission, the two haters began to cross-examine me. Why did you go home with your twin sister on the day the incident happened? My mother called me home because of the demolition money. She told my sister and me to give up the money, both verbally and externally. Before that, she called me and my sister home to get vaccinated. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later, that's all we know. Later, when my sister-in-law Jong Ho-hat found out, she insulted me and my sister on her mobile phone, demanding that each of us pay her rent of 4,000 yuan per month according to the market price, and double the water and electricity bills. My sister and I don't want to disrupt the peace at home, so we just want to discuss with them when we get home to see if we can make it cheaper. In order to raise a bride price of 500,000 yuan for my brother, buy 3 gold coins for my sister-in-law, and organize banquets for them, my sister and I have already owed a large amount of money to the bank. We are so poor that sometimes we can only eat 1 meal a day. As I said this, I couldn't help but shed tears, covering my mouth and crying nonstop. The two hat uncles comforted me a few more times, and then I choked with sobs and tried to calm down. Then my nephew was born, and I had to buy him a gold lock and gold necklace. I had to buy him imported milk powder and diapers every week, because my sister and I couldn't afford the money. We didn't dare to go back to see them for a long time. Last week, they called us two sisters home, thinking they could sit down and talk calmly, but they didn't expect. I covered my mouth, my eyes widened in disbelief, and my face was full of horror. The two hat uncles didn't speak. One was taking notes, and the other was watching me carefully. I just wanted to raise my hand to beat my chest, but as soon as I raised my hand, I felt heartbreaking pain from the wound. My face turned pale, all of a sudden. Before I passed out, I said with grief, I would rather die than let my child block this disaster for me. Quick, call the doctor. 9. My mother was detained for intentional injury. Jong Ho-hat was also detained in the police station after fighting with each other. Before she was discharged from the hospital, my mother contacted a lawyer through my brother and took our sisters to court with a complaint. Well-meaning neighbors testified that my sister and I had been tortured and humiliated by my mother and them for a long time. Presiding judge, Li Zhaoer was born with hemophilia inherited from Zhao Fun and her mother's family. The couple thought he was a sick child and threw the child into the trash can. It was my husband who took the child back. They were a vicious couple. They couldn't afford the bride price when their son got married, so they threatened the two sisters with death and forced them to take out a loan. Including the house they live in now, it was bought by their parents when they were forced to take out a loan as soon as they started working in society. Even the monthly payments are paid by them. I heard that there was demolition some time ago, and her mother secretly called the two sisters home. The door was not closed tightly at that time. I heard it when I passed by. She gave all 6.3999 million to her son, leaving only 100 yuan for the two girls to share equally, which is only 50 yuan each. Isn't this a joke? And the demolition money was divided based on head. At that time, the old man and their family died, and there were only 4 people left. No matter what, one girl should not be given 50 yuan and sent away. No, I heard that the demolition money came in right after the old man died. They didn't tell the two girls and transferred the money to their son early in the morning. The two girls were just starting out in society at the time. They were scared to death. Even when they went to the bank for a loan, my aunt and I accompanied them. The bank has surveillance videos and their monthly repayment records and other bills. My mother was so angry that she was trembling all over. That's nonsense. It's just nonsense. Master Qing Tian, it's such a sin. The daughter I finally gave birth to is peeing all over the place, and in the end she was wronged, and I wanted to kill her. What a sin. With the support of my sister, I stood up with a miserable look on my face. I was so weak that I coughed several times and almost coughed out my lungs. I complained with tears in my eyes. Mom, there are all the witnesses and physical evidence. How can you still tell lies with your eyes open? Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later, that's all we know. If my sister hadn't run so fast at that time, I'm afraid she would have been like me and almost died by her knife. Tiger poison doesn't even eat its seeds. Mom, you are so cruel. My sister wiped my tears, and she couldn't stop crying. Mom, you and Zhang Hohot forced us to pay off our debts on our mobile phones, and forced us to pay you rent according to the market price. There are chat records to prove every word. Why do you still refuse to admit it? You evil girl, is it easy for me to raise you? I asked you to be filial to me, but you will do this dirty trick to me. My mother was so angry that her lawyer stopped her just in time. Presiding judge, my defender is a little agitated and has applied for a temporary adjournment. During the intermission, the lawyer told us that the odds of winning this lawsuit were very good. I nodded weakly. Lawyers are sorting out information. My sister winked at me, meaning I can act well, right? I shook her hand. Awesome. In one trial, we two sisters won. My mother was not convinced and applied for a second trial. The second trial still failed. Immediately afterwards, I filed a lawsuit against my mother for intentional injury. With a neighbor's video and the fingerprints on the dagger as evidence, Zhang Hohot insisted that my mother was sentenced to 2 years and 7 months and fined 1 million without settlement. Some of the money she stole from our sisters eventually flowed back in this way. My mother refused to implement it because she had no money. I asked the court to conduct a thorough investigation of the assets in her name. It was discovered that a house with the original demolition money had already been registered in her name. I applied to the court through my lawyer for enforcement. This house was sealed by the court and auctioned for exactly 1 million yuan. I didn't even need to inform my mother. The million was automatically credited to my card. 10. The child was declared ineffective in resuscitation and eventually died. My sister-in-law Zhang Hohot and my brother Ling Zhu almost went crazy. They cursed my mother and our 2 sisters wildly. Because Zhang Hohot is in the bureau, it is difficult to operate. Ling Zhu went directly to a lawyer to sue the 2 sisters, but in the end he failed to win the case. On the contrary, my sister and I took him to court on the grounds that the demolition money and the compensated house were divided according to head count and demanded that he be dispersed in full, together with all the expenses that they had forced him to die for over the years. Fortunately, I was cautious at that time and asked them to issue an IOU and sign and deposit it. With these irrefutable evidence, Ling Zhu had almost no chance of winning. He blocked the door with a knife, his red eyes glaring angrily. If you 2 bitches hadn't gone home to fan the flames, why would Mom and Hohot have been squatting in the station and unable to get out? Also, you actually dared to spread rumors that Guangzong is not my son. I think you are impatient with life and are looking for death. I pulled my sister behind me and looked into his red eyes without being humble or condescending. I also discovered this incident by accident. Do you remember that Guangzong had a high fever and went to the hospital for emergency treatment? Ling Zhu said angrily. Of course I remember. I asked you 2 to take time off to help guard the night, but you refused on the grounds of working overtime. Later, if Mom hadn't come forward, you wouldn't have been happy to come. I took out my mobile phone and said, I asked for leave and came to stay late at night. I had to go to the toilet first because I needed to urinate. I happened to catch Zhang Hohot having an affair with her child's father in the toilet. If you don't believe me, you can watch the video. Who knows whether what you said is true or false? Ling Zhu stared at the phone with murderous eyes. What if you lied to me and the video was synthesized? Then you can go find experts in this field to identify it and see if this video is synthetic. My sister stuck her head out and shouted, Didn't you say that you have a buddy who is talented in this field? Send it to him and ask him to check it for you. Ling Zhu lowered his eyelids hesitantly, as if he was debating whether to do this or not. Taking advantage of his opportunity, I immediately sent the video to his mobile phone. I've sent you the video. It's up to you to watch it or not. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Zhu held a kitchen knife against my neck and quickly took out his mobile phone from his pocket. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later, that's all we know. He clicked interrupt tremblingly and quickly forwarded the video to his good friend, asking him to check whether it was synthesized. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later, that's all we know. Since you already knew, why did you tell me earlier? Aren't you happy to see me being fooled around like a fool? Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later. That's all we know. The next second, the sharp tip of the knife cut the skin on my neck, and blood rushed out. This madman, he cut the aorta. When I realized it, my whole body went limp, and as the blood flowed, my vision went dark and I was about to faint. Elder sister. My sister's anxious roar came to my ears. Sister, wake up. She hugged me and pushed Lingzhu away with all her strength. Lingzhu was accidentally pushed back because he was staring at the screen of his mobile phone. Immediately afterwards, two hat uncles arrived in time, quickly stepped forward to subdue him to the ground, and took away the kitchen knife in his hand. 11. I went to the hospital for rescue for the second time. The attending doctor was still the same as last time, and she was even speechless. Why is it you again? I have just been discharged from the hospital, and young people don't know how to take care of their bodies. He put the knife on your neck, but you didn't know how to follow his words, and you were not afraid of provoking him to death. Aren't you afraid that he would actually chop your head off in a fit of anger? I curled my lips with a pale face. It's good to die, so you don't have to pay off the debt. The doctor's mouth twitched. What is immortality? I finally saved you from death again. You have to live well for me. Only by living can you have hope. At this time, Lingzhu also squatted in the bureau. The two sisters asked to divide the 4 houses and the demolition money of 6.4 million yuan equally on a per-head basis. In the end, one person and one apartment cost 1.6 million. The remaining apartment and 3.2 million are still in the hands of Lingzhu. Then we asked them to pay back all the money on the IOU. The house they lived in was required to be exchanged for 1 penny according to the market price. Lingzhu was busy filing a divorce lawsuit with Zhang Hohot. He claimed that Zhang Hohot had cheated on the marriage on the grounds that the child was not his, and demanded the return of the bride price, 3 gold coins, and all the expenses spent on her. I don't know where he hired the top lawyer, but he really made Zhang Hohot vomit out every penny. My sister and I argued that the money should be returned to us on the grounds that the bride price and 3 gold medals were all paid for by ourselves. My lawyer was better than his, and the money returned to our two sisters' pockets intact. Because there is an IOU as evidence, it is also required to be returned with interest. After Lingzhu learned the news, he was furious. He didn't know what method to use, and he said harshly that he would kill us after he was released from prison. After I found out, I told Uncle Hat what he said. He stayed in the position a little longer. Litigation is always incredibly long and complicated. My sister and I successfully went abroad for further studies through the company's overseas dispatch quota, and through our own efforts, we settled overseas. Because he has been in litigation with Lingzhu for the past few years, the apartment and 3.2 million in his hands finally fell into the hands of my sister and me through various channels. With this money, my sister and I can live a stable life abroad. 12. Neighbors in China kindly told us that my mother and Zhang Hohot were released from prison some time ago. My mother was homeless and penniless and living on the streets, already picking up trash for a living. Zhang Hohot was rejected by her natal family, and after falling into depravity, she started working as a prostitute. One time when she was picking up customers, she happened to meet my mother picking up rubbish in the trash can. The two of them yelled at each other in the street and exchanged greetings about each other's ancestors. Then a well-intentioned person called and reported her, and they both went to the police station to squat. My sister and I looked at each other and called each other's informants in China. Whenever my mother went to pick up garbage, other beggars would snatch her things, hit her in the face, and curse her with the most vicious words. In the end, she starved to death under the overpass and died rotting among flies and bugs. As long as Zhang Hohot dared to pick up customers, they would call and report her for gathering people to sell things. She was forced to move to different cities several times. Several times, she was tortured to the point of becoming insane, and even her former best friend beat and scolded her. Zhang Hohot couldn't bear it anymore, so she sneaked away to an unknown town and made a living by washing dishes. She was always made things difficult by her boss, who repeatedly accused her of being an unpopular loser. In the end, I don't know why, but I heard that she was abducted deep into a mountain, and if she couldn't give birth to a son, she would have to continue giving birth. Lingzhu's life in prison was not easy either. Because he has been held in the palm of his parents' hands since he was a child, he has never done any housework, and he has been raised with tender skin and tender flesh, without touching his fingers. Although she is not as pretty as the girl, she is still pretty and her skin is delicate and fair. When he first entered, he was beaten severely by the inmates every once in a while. At first, he would resist desperately, but in the end he would only be beaten harder. He often lacked food and clothing, and was beaten and kicked by his fellow inmates. Later, I heard that a lecherous inmate came to the prison. He was a pervert, and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Normally, everyone would stay away from inmates of this heavyweight class. When Lingzhu was tortured to the point of death due to his thin skin and tender flesh, he accidentally grabbed the leg of the inmate and begged him to save him. The inmate was silent for 3 seconds to save him. Just when he thought he was reborn, he fell into another hell where he was suffering both physically and mentally. Lingzhu was often tortured by him until his chrysanthemums were covered with bruises. He reported this inhumane brutality to the prison guards, but no one ignored him. His life was hopeless, and he was ridiculed and deliberately humiliated by other inmates. Someone forced him to pick up soap, but at the critical moment, he was saved again by the inmate. Lingzhu felt grateful and resentful at the same time. He felt that if it weren't for him, he would not be humiliated as a woman. He took the opportunity to teach the other party a lesson, but the other party easily saw through the trick and even made him worse than death in front of many inmates. Lingzhu couldn't bear it anymore, so he asked his lawyer to find a way to get him out, or to apply for a different situation for him. The lawyer said he was helpless. After I learned the news, I asked my lawyer to contact his lawyer and said that as long as he was willing to pay 5 million, I would 100% change his position. After the big house in Ling Zu's hand was auctioned, he received 2.5 million yuan, including the 3.2 million yuan for demolition. He had 5.7 million yuan in hand. Ling Zu had been hesitant until he was tortured by the inmates until he was almost beyond recognition and mentally insane. He finally made up his mind and agreed to the lawyer's suggestion. I discussed it with the lawyer, and the 5 million will belong to me. You can find a way to take away the remaining 700,000 in his hand. Otherwise, we will break up and no one will be able to live well. Because I also had a handle on him, he had no choice but to pinch his nose and endure it. Ling Zu waited and waited until the lawyer said, the other party asked for an additional 700,000 yuan to give you a more luxurious suite. Ling Zu almost cursed as he trembled all over just thinking about that inmate. In the end, he could only grit his teeth and agree to the lawyer's request. The lawyer took his 700,000 yuan and walked away with the money. By the time Ling Zu reacted, it was already too late. He angrily asked the bureau to hire a lawyer to defend him. He wanted to sue that damn unscrupulous lawyer for taking away all his money. But no one paid attention to his incompetent rage. His roar mocked the inmate, and under the cold and swooshing eyes of the other prisoner, he was forced to end up with bruises all over his anus. Waiting and waiting, he finally waited until it was time to be released from prison. This year, he was just 30 years old. 13. Ling Zu took the 1,000 yuan he had saved by working in prison and a set of old clothes that had been washed white. Thus began a new life. And his original house and money had already been taken away. Relying on the skills he learned in prison, he found a job washing cars outside. But because of his criminal record, his colleagues looked down on him, always verbally ostracizing him from time to time, and even pushing him. And because he has been nourished by inmates for many years, he looks different from other men in his words and deeds, which makes people look more and more annoying and mock him as a sissy. Ling Zu was originally very taboo about others calling him mother, and because of his experiences over the years, he had been holding a grudge for a long time. The colleague pushed him and called him a slut. Ling Zu exploded instantly, took out the knife next to him, and stabbed him in the mouth. Because he intentionally hurt